2022 to 2025 Honda Civic rear wheel bearing replacement. What's up, everybody? I'm going to show you how to replace the rear wheel bearing on this Honda Civic. Here's the part number. This is from Honda, and here's on a parts website. Here's all the ones that matches at 2022 to 2025. So first we got to take the hubcap off. We're going to go ahead and just get something to kind of pry this off. Be careful not to break it. Then we're going to take the lug nuts off. It's a 19 millimeter. Make sure your car is lifted safely. Remove the wheel. And first thing we need to do is take the brake caliper apart and take the rotor off. So let's get this spring clip off and then get these caliper bolts off. And then we will remove this and then, just pretty much remove all the brake components, and then we'll be able to get to the wheel bearing. For this part, I like to take like a flathead and kind of put it under the spring where it's connected on the caliper with a rag or something, and just kind of pop it off. That way it won't like pop off and hit me in the face. That's why I use a rag. And then these caliper bolts have a little weather cap. Gotta pop this weather cap off. And then once this is off, we could get in there with our tool. Put these to the side. It's a 7 millimeter hex socket. Like this. We'll go ahead and put this on a ratchet. And the bottom one's easy to get to. It's just normal. You just put this in here and you undo it. You could just slide the whole thing out if you want and just put it to the side. But the top, because it has this actuator on it and the brake line is in the way, kind of got to get creative. So what I did is I had to put a wrench on my hex socket like this, and then I was able to have enough clearance to get this one loose. You don't have to do it this way. If you have like an extension or like a small socket that could get in there, I don't know, but you have to get kind of creative with the top one. We'll go ahead and get that out. Now when that's off, we should be able to just wiggle and pull this caliper off. Try not to drop your pads like I did. Go ahead and get these pads out. This one's okay, so we'll set this to the side. The one with the little brake sensor is the inside one. And then we'll go ahead and support this caliper with like a little hook cord. You could use whatever, like a wire hanger or whatever you got, or an actual brake caliper hanger to secure that. And then we're going to take the caliper bracket bolts off right here and right here. These two bolts, the 17 millimeter. These are going to be a lot tighter than the caliper bolts. So go ahead and remove these. I had to break them loose and I got them free. There's one, and then here's the bottom one. Go ahead and get this off right here. All right, and then when you get the second one out, this thing is gonna want to fall off. So make sure you have your hand on it to hold it. Set these parts to the side. Don't lose any. All of them will be going back in. Now the rotor is gonna have a little screw here. Yours should have it, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. You can just skip this part. But in a perfect world, you could just unscrew that with a screwdriver. But those things are usually just fused on. So what I do is I use a little baby air hammer and just kind of tap the middle, and then I tap the sides of it to go kind of guide it, spinning it backwards. And then once it comes loose, I'll take it off like this. I also have a video on multiple ways to get these off. I'll link that below. But yeah, I'll get that, and then we should be able to remove the rotor like that. Set this to the side carefully. And basically here is our wheel bearing. It's like a hub assembly. I'm sure you've noticed it has 4 bolts. I'm going to take the ABS sensor out. It's a 10 millimeter bolt right here. Just get a 10 millimeter on here. Undo this bolt. And then gently pull this wheel speed sensor out. It'll be a little stuck in there because it's just like a tight fit and it's been on the car for a while. But be patient, get it out. All right, set that stuff aside, and then here is the 4 bolts for the wheel bearing. As you can see, one's blocked by the brake line bracket, so we got to get this brake line bracket off. It's a bolt right here. That's a 12 millimeter, and just reach in here. So when you're in this part of the job, you're going to be using like extensions and sockets, like short, long sockets, whatever you got to do to get access to the bolts. Remove this 12 millimeter bolt, and then we'll set this to the side. Now we'll have access to all 4 wheel bearing bolts. I had to use an extension with a a longer breaker bar to kind of break these loose. Of course, I have the luxury of being on a rack. If you're doing this in the driveway, you can still do it. You just got to get creative. Or if you have like an impact gun, you could zip it from the back like this right here. You can use a breaker bar. You can use, whatever you got to use to get these bolts loose. They're going to be tight, but you just got to get them all out. A flex head socket helps out. But get these out one at a time like this, and then the wheel bearing won't come out. Once you get these bolts out, it's not just going to pop off. At least it shouldn't. It doesn't normally do that. If yours does, then great. But you're going to have to use some tools, not like a rubber mallet like this, but like a hard mallet. And what I do is I just kind of rotate the hub. Of course, we're not reusing this hub or the lug nuts or nothing like that, or the studs, I mean. So I just kind of tap on it like this from behind and then on top. It should start to come off a little bit like that. You could use a pry bar to kind of get in here and help push it out. Or you could just continue to keep hitting it with the hammer. Just be careful not to bend your backing plate on the car there. But yeah, mine wasn't too bad. It kind of came out with just some hammering. You can see there's like kind of like a little bit of rust on the surface here. So what I do is I take a wire brush and I just kind of clean up the rust, make it nice and clean again, getting it ready for the new one. I also put a very thin layer of the Seal Glide lube right here, just to help the new one go in and kind of protect it from rust from the future. But here's my new one. Like I said, this is from Honda. I'm going to link a bunch of options below from like Amazon or from Honda. This is an OEM one. You don't have to get OEM, but you can if you want. Now, there's a little notch on one side of this. There's like two little notches. Now, pay attention to that, because if you look at the mating surface right here, there's like a little spot for both notches in the backing plate. So when you put it on, you have to line it up. This thing has to go on a certain way. Like, see these two notches right here? So you'll line those two notches up with the notches on the backing plate and on the knuckle. And then if you do that, you shouldn't have too much problems lining up the bolt holes. So it just goes like that, and then just kind of hand thread the bolts from behind. Go ahead and grab these bolts right here. And yeah, just one at a time, just start getting them in. You don't got to do them any particular order when you're hand tightening them. Just get them in as you can. I would say hand tighten them down about halfway and then move on to your other one. You don't want to just put one in and tighten it all the way down, because it's going to unalign the other holes. So we'll get these in like this. And then, of course, with whatever extensions or tools you got to tighten them down, we're going to tighten them down. Here they are. And then it should look pretty good on the outside. The backing plate shouldn't be pinched or nothing like that. Here's my torque wrench to torque the bolts down. Now, here's the deal, guys. I looked everywhere in all kinds of service data to find the torque specs on these bolts. I couldn't find them, so I just torqued them the same torque I found the other side at. I'm not going to tell you what that is, because I don't know if that's correct. But if you don't have a torque wrench, just tighten them down as best you can. And then we'll go ahead and put this bracket back on. Get this ABS sensor back on. Yeah, if anybody knows the torque specs down below, that'd be cool to put it in the comments. I couldn't find them. I looked in all data, Mitchell, on Identifix. I couldn't find them anywhere. Okay, so once I got the sensor back on, we could put this rotor back on. You could put this screw back in. I like to put these back in, but some guys don't put them back in, because it's like an assembly line screw just to hold the rotor on for the assembly line. That's what people say. I don't know. But I got the rotor on, and then I'll put this bracket back on. If you want, you could clean your bracket up with like a wire brush. But I put this back on, and we'll tighten these brake caliper bolts down. Put our pads back in. Make sure you put them in the way they came out, with like the outer pad being on the outer side, the inner pad on the inner. And then we'll put our brake caliper on. The piston shouldn't have came out or nothing like that. You should be able to just slide it back over. And then we'll put our bolts back in, of course. Here they are right here. be careful with these threads because they can get stripped out. So when you put it in, make sure it's lined up perfectly. If it doesn't seem right or it's crooked, like, do not keep going, because these are infamous for stripping out. So just tighten these right here. Get your caliper bolts, and we'll put these weather caps back in. This protects it from like getting rusty in there and whatever, you know, dirt messing up the bolt. And then we're going to put this clip back on. What I do is I put the bottom one on like completely in place, and then I'll come up here and I'll push the outer part onto its mating surface, and then I'll try to push the little peg part into the hole. This is just how it works for me. I have like decently strong hands, so I could just kind of muscle it, but you know, just kind of tap these with your hammer or your screwdriver to make sure they don't pop out on you. And that's it for that. Now we're just going to put the wheel back on. Obviously double check your work, make sure you didn't forget nothing like the ABS sensor, or you know, make sure the brake lines aren't twisted or kinked. Go ahead and put our wheel back on. Again, it's a 19 millimeter. Torque your wheel with your torque wrench. I'll link a torque wrench below. And then we'll put our hubcap back on right here. And that's it, guys. So hopefully this video helped you out. Check below for links. Thanks for watching. That's all the information I got for you. The rest of the video is just some products and other stuff I got going on. Totally up to you if you want to stick around. I got a 15% off Oxido.com promo code. Now, Oxido has a bunch of products, but what they're mostly known for is their really good aftermarket headlights. So if you got an older car, 80s, 90s, 2000s, even a newer car, if it has a bulb, they probably got an upgraded bulb for you. You may have seen aftermarket LED headlights on Amazon, but the thing, I'm not going to say any names, but the thing is, they have a lot of issues. Sometimes they start to flicker after a few months, or they get hot and the LED burns off. These are available on Amazon. You can get them there. However, if you go to the website and use the promo code GearmoAuto, you can get 15% off. It's really easy. All you got to do is go to the website on your phone or your computer, and then put in what kind of car you have, what year, make and model, you know, that stuff, and then it'll display to you all the available lights for your vehicle. You can get headlights, tail lights, interior lights. Highly recommend getting some good interior lights. You'll be surprised how bright it is. So just type GearmoAuto in at the checkout and you'll get 15% off.
Pretty good.